Good evening. Welcome to this regular council meeting of the Albion City Council, Monday, April 16th, 2018. If you have a phone or electronic device, I'd ask that you place it on silent. I call this meeting to order, and we'll observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk Domingue, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Barnes, Reed, Brown, Lawler, Spicer, here, French, and Mayor Brown.
Here. Council, Mayor and Councilmember comments. I have been notified for, I guess, just a number of council members. A number of them had some pre-existing commitments, and then also there were some emergency and other kind of health-related issues. So that accounts for those who are not in attendance. So because we are under a quorum, we're going to just do issues that don't require us to transact business. Are there any further comments from council this evening? Okay. City Manager's report.
Trying to read what I was doing. Jump past too fast to me. We asked for MDOT to come tonight and have an update on their project going on downtown this summer. No one from MDOT was able to make it tonight, but I do have a few things to update the public on. Currently, construction is scheduled now for the month of May to do the section north of the river to Vine Street, which will be taking up the asphalt that was put down and then adding the bricks to that section. And then from June 4th through September 2nd is when they plan to remove the bricks on the southern part from the river all the way down to Ash Street. I've had a few questions on this because people said they were going to do it in sections. The problem with doing it in sections, as MDOT reported before, is that those bricks are tied together from one end to the other end and from curb to curb. And if you don't have that all tied together, you can't put vehicles on it. Otherwise, it'll just start falling apart again. So they can't do a section of that. That entire block has to, or that entire area from the river to Vine has to, or Ash Street has to be done at one time. So that section will be closed while that's being done. This Friday at 6:30 p.m. is the first of the 3 5K races for the Run Albion event. And so if anybody interested in that, the race begins at 6:30. There's pre-sign up on their website, the Run Albion website, until the 18th, but you can also sign up at the race that night. On Thursday, the 19th at 6 p.m., there's a community forum at the Ludington Center for the opioid dilemma put on the substance abuse prevention services of Albion. And I've also, just today, started a public services Facebook page for our public services department, which includes the parks, the streets, water, and sewer departments, to update you on things that are going on. There are updates on there today about the street project downtown, along with the project that's going to be going on with the water tower and a couple other things that happen around town. So feel free to check that out and get more updates about what's going on here in town.
Thank you. We'll move on to presentations. So item A is from the Albion Economic Development Corporation update from Amy Dupreys, President and CEO. Good evening. Good
evening. I've brought some extra copies of the quarterly update, but I provided one at each of your spaces and the empty spaces too. So you've got several up there. Tonight's presentation is to talk a little bit about the highlights of what happened this past quarter. So the quarterly update captures January, February, and March 2018. One of the highlights that I wanted to mention is we've moved. We're no longer located on North Superior, and we are sharing space with the Community Foundation on Eaton Street. So that was a highlight of our life because it took a lot of work to get that done. There's a lot of storage of information over the years that we had to go through. But we spent a lot of time this last quarter, and it's going to be a focus going forward, on marketing initiatives. We want to increase our communication with the community. We're finding that the community doesn't understand necessarily the projects we're working on, the successes that have been happening, what the EDC really does, what opportunities are out there. And we got to find a way to change that. And it's not an easy feat in this community to communicate to everybody. There's not a kind of a one-source fix. So we've worked on some new logos that we launched for the EDC. That's on the new quarterly updates. You'll see that one. It's reminiscent of the Brick Street. And then we also did a new one for the farmers market. I think in the olden, the previous days, not the olden days, farmers market was more, farm to table. And it does represent more of the craft and some of the other things that we would like the market to represent. So we changed that logo to make it more comprehensive. We've increased we're planning on increasing our social media presence and content, getting more information out to the public on opportunities that are happening. We are working right now to update and kind of revise the website. Make it a little bit more user-friendly, but more pertinent to what companies are looking for today. Less information and more links to the areas that they need to have. And then really stepping up our game on press releases. We really haven't done many press releases in the past year, and that's unfortunate. So we want to make sure we're not only talking about our successes, but our opportunities that are out there. One of them is a press release just went out today on the job fair that we're working on for May 15th. Giving people enough time to plan for these kinds of events. But I think sharing successes is important because if we don't all know the good things that are happening and can speak it, the negativity can just take over and become overwhelming. So it's good to talk about the successes and be able to share that with our friends and family outside of the area. On a business side, the EDC board, approved 5 lot sales this past quarter in the industrial park. That means we have 1 lot left available, plus a Calhoun County land bank has a property out there too. So there's 2 parcels. One's got some contamination issues. The other one is pretty much greenfield. So there's been a lot of movement with that. Those were all 4 medical marijuana operations. So closing won't take place probably for somewhere between 60 and 120 days because there is contingencies on each one of those deals, such as the procurement of a license through the city of Albion, which you're talking about the ordinance. On a development side, staff continues to work with several developers that are interested in projects in the area. A lot of them have to do with housing. Some of those are with senior housing projects. We're seeing solar development continue to be a high interest here, particularly out in the 425 property in Sheridan Township. And then we're seeing a lot of mixed use opportunities, primarily in the downtown, that can trigger additional developments in the future. As you all are aware, the EDC also acts as staff for ARC, the Albion Reinvestment Corporation, which is a nonprofit. ARC's got several projects in the pipeline. All of those require a lot of upfront cash. So right now, ARC is very focused on fundraising. That has to be a priority. Covering that upfront cash is going to be tricky. Once we get past that point, you can then leverage the state incentives and stuff that we've talked about. But there's a lot of money that has to be expended before that. So the focus you're going to see is really there. Looking forward into 2018 and into the next quarter, as I said, we are working on a job fair. That's May 15th at the Eastern Academic Center. It's going to be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. We are in the process of identifying employers to participate and encouraging job seekers to be ready for that. With the last job fair, we did a lot of prep events. I don't think you'll see that with this one, but we'll do more one-on-one coaching and making sure that any job seeker that needs the assistance, we're matching them to the right resource or helping them through that, so that they're showing up to that job fair prepared. The focus for the event is going to really target high school and college grads, trying to capture that talent and keep it here in local businesses. So it could be summer internships, it could be positions within the company, or they could turn or be apprenticeships. We're seeing a lot more apprenticeships at the national level. Workforce continues to be a huge issue for the community, and I see that for the whole year that we're going to be working with Michigan Works and Talent and Economic Development from the state level and our other partners to make sure we're addressing the critical needs of workforce in our area. That job fair is just one component of that. And going forward, as we close on those properties in the industrial park, those companies are going to need continued support. They're going to need support on putting their facilities in place, the zoning that's going to be needed, the approvals that's going to be needed, and then finding the job seekers that they need to fill their positions. So that's going to be a focus going forward also. And then continuing to work on those housing developments. We're seeing some real movement in the senior part of that, and we're starting to get some interested players that are starting to really talk seriously about doing a development. So hopefully within the next, I'd like to say the next quarter, but the next 6 months we see something that we could actually start to announce. Staffing changes. Over this last quarter we lost Neely Kent. She is my office manager. She was also my right hand. So we are taking this opportunity to look at where the EDC is going right now, what skill set the employees have, and then identifying our gaps. We're not going to just fill the position as it was because I don't think it's pertinent to where we are today. So all the staff is picking up extra duties. Every single one of us has picked up some extra responsibilities. And we're going to kind of limp through a couple of months to find out what's really needed and then post a position that's specific to that need. So you will see something coming. It'll be in the future. But in the meantime, we've shuffled some employees around. So you will notice that Laura Overholt, who used to be the coordinator for the farmers market, is now going to be the full-time food hub manager. She went from part-time to full-time, and I'm very appreciative that she comes in with that knowledge already. And Caitlin Berard, who was handling that, we're going to bring her over to the EDC and use her talents in a more economic development fashion. So we're switching some people around. The RLF program, the revolving loan fund, that's a fund that we have to use to close gaps or to compete for projects that are looking at other areas and we need an incentive at the local level. That program is a federal program that's gone through a lot of changes, so I see in the next quarter a considerable amount of time spent trying to map through the changes that's going through, make sure our program is consistent with that, do any changes that need to be changed, and then all the new reporting. Neely couldn't pick a worse time to leave. She was in charge of the RLF, so this will be my first RLF report I do, plus we've changed the system. So, and then lastly, we shared at our last board meeting last week an annual report. It used to be the EDC apparently did that, and it kind of went by the byline. You know what I'm talking about. It's been a long day. We've revived that. So we did an annual report for 2017 that will be made public soon. The board has received it. We're working on getting it printed in limited amounts, but it'll mostly be available in our social media. So it'll be available on the website, but we can also use that when we're prospecting. If we want to go out and talk to a company, especially if it's a larger company that you got to put down a pretty impressive package to get them to come, it'll help us with that. With that, I will answer any questions you might have, and understanding that you are all in a hurry to close today, I'll respect that.
Are there any questions from council? Councilmember Spicer.
Thank you, Mayor. Amy, thank you for coming and for the info. Can I see under marketing and public relations, one bullet says implemented, so I'm assuming that happened. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, the Albion Policy Outreach Day?
Sure. So we've been talking, and I think I briefed you on that some time ago when we were calling it Lansing Day. It was a chance for the community leaders and some elected officials. The mayor was included in that, and so was council member Lawler. See, I am really tired. But it was an opportunity to go to Lansing and create relationships. That was really the nuts and bolts of it. We wanted to make sure that we had a relationship both with our elected officials there and the state agencies. So when they're talking about policy changes or new programs, often they reach out to the communities that would benefit from them for feedback when that's being drafted. We want to be part of that because it's much easier to get into a program if it's been crafted with you in mind. So that day was centered around creating those relationships, but we also went and had meetings one-on-one with many elected officials and state agencies, and then asked them for some support of things. And there were a few items. There's a one-pager that is available. I think they're putting it on our website, but it gives a really good outline of the meetings we had, the intent of that, and then the ask that we did ask for support. Okay. So it was hopefully the first of many. We'd like to do it every year, especially next year with the change in administration. It'll be critical.
Yeah. Do you have another question before?
Not a question, just a comment. Well, that's a continuation of the conversation, but so we've asked for some things and we've told them what we're interested in. So do you think we'll hear something back? Do you have any idea how they're gonna? So
our ask weren't really, it wasn't the goal of the event. Okay. I do think we and there's one part of it I can't talk about. I just heard today that we've been reconsidered for something. I think that was part of that discussion, part of that going and talking to the agencies and to the elected officials. But one of the things we asked for support for was for the opportunity zones. It's a federal program, and we have received final confirmation that Albion was granted or certified one of the census tracts as an opportunity zone. So we're seeing some successes from it, but the real success is being able to call a state agency and get a hold of the person we really need to talk to, or call an elected official and use that relationship to leverage something that we need.
That's my comment for now. I will contact Amy. I have some questions about the opportunity zone, but we'll talk later. Okay.
We all have questions about the opportunity zone, but I'll make sure that I send to Jill the one sheet, the one pager on that, and take a look at it. It doesn't have a lot about opportunity zones, but I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Do you have a question? Okay. So I guess, more like a comment, not necessarily a question, because I've seen this before. So thank you for presenting. There's a lot of things going on the EDC side and the ARC side, and I think that we're, beginning to see, things come to fruition because, the hotel's opening. It seems like they're doing pretty well. We're still going to have some issues with the streets and the Superior Street and businesses down there. And I guess my core comment is I'm glad and excited to see that there's going to be more emphasis on kind of public engagement and communication, because I think in the absence of people kind of knowing what's going on, there's a feeling sometimes that they're being, left out. And so I think that the more communication we have, I think it's better for the community in the sense that we're doing certain projects because they've kind of been in the pipeline, but that doesn't mean that neighborhoods or other kind of business corridors are not going to be dealt with. So that's my comment.
Yeah. Yes, and I understand that. I can tell you from experience, it's going to be a whole lot easier to address all the issues when we have the momentum we need to not have to focus on the downtown.
Okay.
And I don't think we're there yet. I know we're not there yet. There's momentum, but it won't do it on its own.
Okay.
It needs the pump primed more.
Okay.
And that will, it'll just benefit the whole community. But it takes time. And when I said they're concentrating on fundraising right now, it's critical. If the funds don't happen, everything we've talked about won't happen. And then that momentum stops. So we're at a very, very important juncture.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I appreciate it.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
I look forward to talking to you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Amy.
We will move on to item B under presentations, a certificate of recognition for Mr. Robert Bob Holt on the occasion of his upcoming 100th birthday. So. So, you probably can stand right here. Yeah. So I'm just going to read the certificate. It's short, and then if you'd like to have comments or like anyone from your family to have comments, we can do that. But the City of Albion Certificate of Recognition awarded to Mr. Robert Bob Holt. I and the Albion City Council acknowledge the significant contributions that you've made and your commitment to Albion, and do hereby extend my heartfelt appreciation and honor to you as a citizen of the City of Albion on your 100th birthday. And it's awarded today, April 16th, 2018. Just want to say congratulations. Thank you. I've known Mr. Holt, well, I should say he's known me probably all my life, and when I was the council person for Precinct 3, he'd always pulled me aside and nudged me about Dalrymple School. So I'm glad that the land bank and the county treasurer were able to make sure that happened. So now that eyesore is out of your way. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak a little bit, and then if you'd like, you can have some of your family speak as well. So, Mr. Holt.
I just want to thank everybody, my wife and daughter, helping me to get this old. I've seen a lot of changes a lot of changes. The one thing I have seen, the pick and shovel changed to a backhoe. I've seen the horse and buggy change to automobile.
Yes.
And I could go on and on and on with different things. But I guess the most recent thing, well, I'm done, but I just want to thank everybody and thank God for letting me be here for this long. Thank you.
This is my day.
Let's kind of move right here.
That's right.
Oh.
Lynn, Dad's known you and you too. Can you go in there? Can they come in too? And then the rest of the council, would you please? I have to send this to my sisters in practice. I have a responsibility. And your son. And my son.
You can, yeah.
You graduated soon,
Mr. Hope.
Ms. Holden, you want to say?
Oh, it's me.
Would you like to announce the
Yes, I
event?
would. The rest, please, please.
The rest of the people.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Get in front. Congratulations. Thanks.
That's yours.
In 14 more days, I'll be 100.
You're welcome.
In 13 days, in 13 days, the sisters and brothers are planning a celebration for him. It's Sunday, April 29th at the American Legion from 3 to 7 p.m. It's a meet and greet. No, we're not doing dinner. We're going to have cookies and, little cupcakes. Please come and shake his hand. Please come and tell him happy birthday.
Thank you.
I was just remarking about when he went out to get a drink of water, he just jumped right up and just went right. I said, oh, if I ever get to be 100 years old, I don't think I'll be moving that fast. And it was so neat to see him when he was the school crossing guard down by his home on Erie Street. You go there and he'd just be going across, getting the little kids, bringing them back and forth. It was really an inspiration.
Okay. Again, congratulations, Mr. Holt. We're going to move on now to.
Excuse me, I'm going to take him over.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. We're going to move on now to public comments. Not the first public comment, but we'll do the second public comment. So just a general public comment. Persons addressing the City Council shall limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes. We ask that you observe proper decorum, and this is the general public comment. Are there any public comments this evening? Okay. Seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Okay, and all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.